you are more than welcome to begin on the homework problems. There are several to do. Alright, so Brianna, again, 16. Do you need the big packet of multiple choice? Alright, so number 16. Order these from smallest to largest. So you have pi degrees, which is 3.14 degrees. Not pi radians, pi degrees. Pi is a number, 3.14. Put the degree sign. 45 degrees is 45 degrees. Pi over 2 radians. You convert with the railroad tracks. This is 90 degrees. Pi over 3, you convert with the railroad tracks. 60 degrees, and then you have 10 degrees. So from smallest to largest, you go 1 first. So B is out, C is out. Then you go V, that's 10. A is out. Then you have 45 degrees, that's number 2. So the answer is whoop, E. Answer is E. 1, 5, 2, 4, 3. Questions on 60? I'm with you. Next. What else am I modeling? We got 21. Anybody before 21? Between 16 and 21? Brianna, 19. Anyone between 16 and 19? 19 it is. The exact value of, okay, cosine negative 2 pi over 3. Two ways to attack this problem. We know that cosine is an even function, which means cosine of negative angle equals cosine of the positive angle. Cosine of 2 pi over 3 is negative 1/2. That's one way to attack the problem. The second way to attack is to remember add 2 pi, because this is a negative angle. So you have negative 2 pi over 3 plus 2 pi over 1. You want this to become 3 and 6. So 4 pi over 3. So this is the same as cosine of 4 pi over 3. The cosine of 4 pi over 3 is also negative 1/2. Oh, okay, then you're good, no worries. Okay. What comes after 19? 21. Does anybody need 20? Okay, seeing that not, let's move to 21. When I see this, I want to map it out. The midline is plus whatever. This is plus 0, so the midline is y equals 0. The amplitude is whatever is multiplied by the trig function, so that's 3. The period, as you all remember, is 2 pi over b equals period. The b is 2. 2 pi divided by 2 equals the period. Therefore, pi equals the period. So now that we know this, we can begin to look at our pictures. So A, remember the midline is here. A is clearly wrong because it doesn't even touch the midline. A is out. D starts at the maximum. Sine does not start at the maximum. Sine starts at the midline. So this is out. B starts at the midline, that's fine. E starts at the midline, so that's a possibility. And C starts at the minimum, that is negative cosine, so this is out. So the answer is either B or E. Let's look in on those. The difference between B and E is that B starts at the midline and goes down, E starts at the midline and goes up. We want sine starts at the midline and goes up. Answer E is what we want. Leslie. Because the sine function always, if you think about the sine graph, starts here and goes up. Starts at the middle and goes up.
Wait, so if the front number was negative, so what am I?
No, so yeah, so let's write, if it was, we can write this simply, if you have cosine, then you start at the max. If you have negative cosine, then you start at the min. If you have positive sine, then you start at the mid and go up. And if you have negative sine, then you start at the mid and go down. These are kind of the four rules. Okay, that was 21. What else would someone like to see? Josue? 24. Does anybody need something? Leslie? 23. Does anybody need 22? Okay, no one needs 22. We'll go to 23. So on 23, again, I want to just map this out. Again, I want to map this out. Midline is max plus min divided by 2, which is equal to 1, plus negative 3 divided by 2, which is negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. Right? The next piece is amplitude. Amplitude is max minus mid. The maximum is 1 minus negative 1 is equal to 2. The period is, as we know, 2 pi over b equals period. When I look at this picture, I want to find the period. Remember, the period is pick a place to start, go up to the maximum, down to the minimum, and in this case that happens to be where we started, so we don't go any farther. Start at a point wherever you want, wherever it is obvious what the coordinate is. Here it's obviously 0. Up to the max, down to the min, and back to where you started. Well, that is where we started, so we're good. Here the period is 2 pi over 3, because that is the distance I traveled from 0 to 2 pi over 3. This distance equals 2 pi over 3. I should go ahead and put this in, by the way. This is the midline. And visually, if you want to think about it, here's amplitude. Excuse me. There's also amplitude. Remember, amplitude is midline to max or midline to min. So the period, we said, is 2 pi over 3, which is equal to 2 pi over b. You can either cross multiply this if you want to, that's fraction equals fraction, or it is very obvious, b must be 3. And now we might be able to make some progress by eliminating some answer choices. Let's take a look. Well, we know that the period is 2 pi over 3. They all have that. Can't eliminate anything. We know the amplitude is 2, so A is wrong. We know that the midline used to be here at y equals 0. The midline used to be here at y equals 0. And now it got moved down to y equals negative 1. So there was a vertical shift down by 1 unit. That eliminates answer E. So it is either B, C, or D. Where do I start? I start at the minimum And if I start at the minimum, we must have, as I just explained, minimum negative cosine. These arrows go both ways. If you don't think about it that way. In other words, this means this and this means this. So therefore we have negative cosine, so the answer is B. Let me take questions on 23. Seeing none, Josue, you're next. 24. Okay. George? Okay. 24. A little bit more complicated, but the process does not change. I'm still mapping. Map means max plus min divided by 2. The maximum is 6. The minimum is negative 2, all divided by 2. 6 plus negative 2 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. The amplitude, remember, is max minus mid, which is equal to 6 minus 2, which equals 4. The period equals 2 pi over b. So what is the period? The period is pick a point that is obvious. Here's an obvious point. We know the coordinate is 1. So we go up to the max, down to the min, back to where we started. So the period is from 1 to 7, which is 6 units. So 6 equals 2 pi over b. This is a fraction equaling a fraction, so you want to cross multiply. 6b equals 2 pi. b equals pi over 3. Let's see if this helps us at all. Well, I want the b to be pi over 3, e is okay, c is out, and a is out. The answer must be b, d, or e. So now I have to think about, well, this graph doesn't start at the max, nor does it start at the min. In fact, let's remember the midline is here. So if I look at my 3 answer choices that are left, I notice that these 2 answer choices both have a left shift. How do I know it's left? Because I do the opposite of what it says inside. This says +2, the opposite of that is left. This is also left shift. This is a right shift. And we know we are shifting by 2. So let's look. This is the point to think about, because that is the point that it's 2 units away. There's no point over here at 2 that's going to be anything interesting. This is like, it's even unclear what the point is. So it must be this 2. So this gray box used to be right here. So somehow the black dot moved to the gray box. In other words, the black dot shifted left by 2. There was a left shift by 2. Something in the equation made the graph go left by 2. The only thing that could have done that was one of these. E is gone. So now you're left with, is it negative sign or positive sign? Well, midline